I'm gonna assume that if you're here, it's because you've been staring at a blank sheet of paper for a very long time, possibly since the pandemic, or you've been scrolling through Pinterest for 4 hours because you're addicted to the dopamine of inspiration, but the actual doing part, not so much. I know you because I am you. Well, dust your palettes off, friends. I have a better idea. And it'll help you learn a lot more about the colors you have, help you find colors you didn't even know you had, and you get all the satisfying feelings of watching watercolor move and flow on the paper with zero pressure in painting something awesome. These are swatch sheets I made just 2 colors each, and I don't know what sparked this for me, but sometime last year I spent several days obsessed with making these. I didn't cut them out like this until much later, but for each row I would pick just 2 colors and see how many variations I could get from just those 2 colors. And let me tell you, even for someone who's been making art their whole lives, it's kind of shocking how many different colors you can get from just 2 colors. I have the most fun doing this by mixing 2 colors I think will be very ugly together, but another great way to start is by picking randomly. So I numbered my pans, excluding the pans that were colors I mixed myself, more on that later, and let a random number generator pick for me, and the first pair of colors was cadmium yellow medium and phthalo blue. I also lightly drew some lines on the paper to keep my rows from getting out of control. I like to stick to one color by itself on one end and the other color on the other end, but you can do this any way you want. I didn't do it that way in my original swatches, but kind of regretted it, so I'm doing it now. I do 2 boxes for each color so that I can have one side that's full strength and the other side that's very diluted, and then I can pull a little from the full strength side into the diluted side and see how the color moves and see all the variations within that one color. I also didn't do it as a gradient from one color to the other originally either. I just jumped in and started mixing however I wanted. Seriously, do this however you want. But this is why randomizing this is a fun way to do it, because I wouldn't have picked these 2 colors on my own. They seem obvious and kind of boring. Yes, yellow and blue make green. Wowza. I have multiple greens already mixed up for me. I don't need to put the most basic blue and the most basic yellow together to... Hey, that's a really nice teal. Ooh, okay, that's a really nice teal. You see what I mean? Let's finish this row and then we'll get to randomizing the next 2 colors. I had to draw more lines so that I could be a little more consistent and not make tiny squish little boxes of color. And there's the ones that I did. They look really nice. There's not a whole lot of light green variations because I didn't really give myself room for it. But I do the next 2 colors on 2 rows instead of 1. You can do obviously as many as you want. So let's see what the new colors are. It gave me neutral tint, which is one of my very favorites, and phthalo blue again. Yay! That's okay. Let's see how it goes. I committed ahead of time to doing whatever colors it gave me. I will say, if you don't already have neutral tint, it is probably one of the best mixing colors to get, because you can mix it into pretty much any other color you own and get like a really cool, like muted down version of it. Kind of darkens it up without making it muddy, and it's really gives us some really unexpected, really nice things with other colors. And I know it sounds like I'm totally poo-pooing on phthalo blue, but phthalo blue is one of my all-time favorite blues, one of my all-time favorite watercolors, period. But no hate for phthalo blue. I just was annoyed to pick it a second time on accident. Not as much variation on this color combo, but you can see how wonderful neutral tint is for chilling out a color that's really bold. The next two colors that the random number generator picked was Cascade Green, which is one of my favorite colors, and Rose of Ultramarine, which is also one of my favorite colors. Both of these colors are granulating, so they kind of separate into other colors as they settle and dry into the paper, so it's really fun to mix them together and kind of see what kind of wild craziness we can get. And these turned out really nice as a combination. I am using cheap paper to do this, and it kind of dulls the color a little bit. You can kind of see that here. Obviously, the nicer the paper, the more intense your colors will stay, but you get the idea. The next two colors I picked on my own, and I tried to pick colors that you would think would be kind of ugly together, but aren't. And that is Wisteria, which is this really nice pinky lavender shade. It's from Daniel Smith. And Hooker's Green, which is M. Graham brand, which does not look like a Hooker's Green. It looks more like a sap green, which is why I bought it, because it was a little cheaper than Daniel Smith's sap green. I like how you need just the tiniest bit of green into that lavender to make it just a little bit softer, a little bit toned down without being just gray. They're not quite complementary colors, so they're not going to make this intense gray, but they give you like this nice sort of dusty lavender, and it's really pretty. That Hooker's Green is the only M. Graham brand color that I've purchased so far, and I really like it. They use honey as a base instead of gum arabic, and I feel like you can really get a lot of color out of the pan with very little water. I really like the way it handles. I want to buy more of those soon. And you can see in these two middle rows right here, that's those two colors mixed together. And there's a huge variety just in those two colors for those. And I thought that turned out really nice. I'm going to cut these out like my other ones. I just like to be able to hold them next to each other and kind of get some really good combination ideas. You can keep these in a whole sketchbook just for swatches if you want. You don't have to cut anything out. You can do this however you want. You can do like an entire page with just two colors if you want, or just one row. Really up to you. You can put together swatches and kind of use blank paper to single them out like this, so you can get all kinds of color combinations. I actually decided to just completely cut all of them apart and just write what colors they were on the backs of all of them, so that I could really mix them around and kind of see colors next to each other that I might not otherwise think to put together, and see exactly what the pairings are on the back of them. You've probably noticed the hearts where I've already marked some of my favorites, and then a few of them have circles by them, and that's because I actually mixed that color from the tubes into its own pan, so I already have that specific color ready to go whenever I want. So I have a completely custom palette of 9 colors that I found doing this very exercise, which is why I didn't include those pans when I used the number generator. If you've not done something like this already to mix and play with your colors, I hope you're really inspired to now. Every time I get these swatches out, I get excited to use new color combinations I would have otherwise probably never found. Whenever I don't know what to paint, I fall back on doing this exercise because even if I still don't have a specific idea in mind when I'm done, I still get to relax with my watercolors with no pressure. I almost always learn something new about the colors I have, and finding new color palettes like this has been tremendously satisfying. If you try it, let me know. Until then, keep your brush out of your coffee, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!